Hey everyone, welcome back to Let's Talk. I'm John, and today we're here to talk about my personal second favorite film of all time, Pulp Fiction. And we're also here to talk about its brand new 4K Blu-ray from Paramount. But before we dive into that, if you are a fan of 4K Blu-ray reviews, movie reviews, tech and game reviews, we try and do them all here on the channel, and nothing helps out more than by you liking this video and subscribing to the channel. So Pulp Fiction was released in 1994, is directed and written by Quentin Tarantino, stars John Travolta, Samuel L. Jackson, Bruce Willis, Uma Thurman, Christopher Walken, Tim Roth, Amanda Plummer, Rosanna Arquette, Eric Stoltz, amongst many other actors that appear in this film. So this is Quentin Tarantino's second directed film after Reservoir Dogs, and it tells the story of a bunch of different characters that takes place over the course of about 2 days, but it takes place non-linearly. It tells the story of two robbers in Amanda Plummer and Tim Roth's characters, two hitmen, Bruce Willis, who's a boxer who works for John Travolta and Samuel L. Jackson's boss, played by Ving Rhames, and Marcellus' wife, Uma Thurman, who, while Marcellus Wallace is out of town, John Travolta has to take her out on a nice night out on the town, and they go to one of my favorite fake restaurants, Jack Rabbit Slim's, where Steve Buscemi gets to be a waiter dressed like Buddy Holly. If that doesn't sound like a perfect film, I don't know what does, because Quentin Tarantino leans right into the fact that he loves movies and that this is a movie. He loves that snappy dialogue, and he knows how to write that dialogue. He does an amazing job. That is the shining star of this movie, is the screenplay. That's why this won for Best Original Screenplay at the 1994, well, I guess 1995 Oscars, but for 1994 films. And it was nominated for Best Picture, and Uma Thurman, Samuel Jackson, and John Travolta all received Oscar nominations just because of how great of a script this really is. It really takes us through those small moments, like John Travolta and Samuel Jackson's Vincent and Jules driving to a hit that they have to do, just the regular conversations they have, because we've all been in a car with somebody, even if it's not somebody that we're just acquaintance with, or somebody who's just a co-worker, and we're just, you're just bullshitting, just kind of getting to know each other a little bit, talking about the vacation you just came back from, the little differences in the world, and that's what makes this movie so special, because usually most people will just show us the actors, like, maybe not even speaking in the car, driving a hit, build up that tension of the hit that's coming, but no, these guys are just having a regular conversation. Same thing with Tim Roth and Amanda Plummer in the beginning. They're just having a regular conversation that a couple would have, but it just happens to be about robberies and robbing a coffee shop. We get to see Bruce Willis's character just having a whole moment with his girlfriend, what they are going through and their story. And those little moments are really what helps to make this movie feel special. Also, the non-linear storytelling, because if you tell this movie in the linear story, it doesn't work. If you don't end on Jules doing that monologue in the diner at the very end of it.
I've been saying that shit for years. And if you heard it, that meant your ass. I never gave much thought to what it meant. I just thought it was some cold-blooded shit to say to a motherfucker before I popped a cap in his ass.
Like, if we don't end on that entire speech to Tim Roth and Amanda Plummer, the movie just won't work as well. That's what would hold it back from being a 10 out of 10 5-star film. But this is a 10 out of 10 5-star film. And for me, it is my second favorite film of all time, only behind The Terminator, but I do think that this is the best film that's ever been made. I just think it's an absolute masterpiece. The choice in soundtrack is just incredible. Every song hits. They know exactly when to drop the track that needs. Just the editing between John Travolta shooting up heroin and then him driving to Uma Thurman's place is just incredible. I've never done heroin before, but the way that they make that feel, it makes it feel like you're almost on heroin, and that's just perfect editing, because this is just a perfectly shot film. Like, you get those hard cuts, just the dips to black. I nerd out over almost every shot in this movie, and it is perfect. Just Uma Thurman calling John Travolta a square, but it's clearly a rectangle. I still get chills watching Samuel L. Jackson deliver the Ezekiel 25:17 right before he shoots the one guy in the chest in the second part of this film.
And you will know my name is the Lord when I lay my vengeance upon thee.
Just one of the best monologues ever. We see all this stuff has been memed at this point in 2022, and for good reason, because this movie will stand the test of time. This will go down as one of the greatest films ever made. Quentin Tarantino, this is his masterpiece. This movie deserves all the credit in the world. It didn't win Best Picture at the 1994 Oscars, and I completely understand why they gave it to Forrest Gump. It wouldn't have been my pick. I do like Forrest Gump. I'm not afraid to admit that. But Pulp Fiction is a way better movie, and it is definitely a movie that's much more culturally significant than Forrest Gump will ever be. Unfortunately, it does hurt me to say that, but Pulp Fiction is just something special. And if you haven't checked out Pulp Fiction, I really recommend that you do. And just one little funny note in there, while I was watching the movie yesterday, after Samuel L. Jackson and John Travolta blow off Marvin's face in the...
Stop. Oh! fuck's happening? Oh, man. Shit, man.
Oh man, I shot Marvin in the face.
Why the fuck?
Car, and they go to Tarantino's house and they call him the Wolf, played by Harvey Keitel, in another fantastic role. I don't know how I forgot him as one of the actors in this movie, but oh my god. In his one scene at the very end, he's perfect. That is what a cleaner should be, I assume, is somebody like that who's just on top of things, calm the whole time, and he still has enough time to get breakfast. When Vincent and Jules are cleaning up their hands in the bathroom and everything like that, and after Samuel Jackson dries off his hands, John Travolta dries off his hands, and it gets blood all over the towel, and Samuel Jackson says to him,
Dry my hands.
Well, you're supposed to wash them first.
Well, you watched me wash
I
them.
watched you get them wet.
that's a conversation that Matt and I have had a million times, where Matt just gets mad at me because he watches me wash my hands while he has to wash his hands for like 4 minutes, while I was like, you know what, I washed them, you saw me wash them, but it's not enough. So that was a really funny exchange of dialogue that always sticks out in my head. But anyway, guys, I'm rambling on about this movie, and I can probably talk about this movie for 3 hours on end because I just love Pulp Fiction. We'll probably do a real deep dive one day into that, but right now we're here to talk about its brand new 4K Blu-ray from Paramount. So Pulp Fiction has come to 4K Blu-ray, and I was so excited that this finally came to 4K Blu-ray. Like I said, one of my favorite films of all time. I was so excited that this got announced for 4K, but then I got a little nervous because only a few weeks ago we got Reservoir Dogs on 4K, and I thought it was weird that we were getting both Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction, both iconic films, only a few weeks apart, after Tarantino's films had a real hard time coming to 4K. Before this, we only had Inglourious Basterds and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. For the 4K format that's been around for a few years now, and the fact that Quentin Tarantino didn't seem to really care about making his films make that jump to the 4K platform, it really worried me, especially after the negative reaction to Inglourious Basterds. But lucky for us, this is a phenomenal transfer. All my worries are gone. This is a perfect 4K for Pulp Fiction. Is it the greatest 4K I've ever seen compared to other 4Ks? No, but this is the best that Pulp Fiction has ever looked. My god, it blew me away. We're going to start right away with the packaging. So this does have a 4K steelbook that you could also get, but I opted for the slipcover edition because I do like this like noir style cover that they went for with this, where instead of it being colored, it's black and white with some red really here and there in the logo and on Uma Thurman's lipstick. That really stuck out to me, and I thought it was a better option than the steelbook. But the steelbook is nice. If you grab the steelbook, I don't think you're going to be disappointed. So you pop that off. Nothing special there as far as the covers go. You pop it open, you get a black 4K and a light blue Blu-ray. And I compare this to my 2011 Blu-ray that I've had for quite some time. And when I compared it, I was actually surprised to see that the Blu-ray from 2011 is actually really good. So I was like, okay, let's see how big of a jump this 4K really is, because that's a pretty decent Blu-ray. And my god, it's a huge jump in visuals, which is actually very surprising. And you notice it almost right away when they're in the diner with Tim Roth and Amanda Plummer's character. But you really start to take notice of the Dolby Vision and the HDR10. When we first see Marcellus Wallace's head, and you get the Band-Aid on the back of his head, and then we see Bruce Willis and John Travolta talking, and the way this bar is lit is like a very like deep red. And on the Blu-ray, you know that it's very lit red like that, but you don't take notice to how beautiful those shots are until you see it on the 4K. And then same thing, the scenes that really stick out are the ones when they go to Jackrabbit Slim's. Just the reflection of the Jackrabbit Slim's logo right off the windshield when Uma Thurman and John Travolta pull up just pops now. It's very flat on the Blu-ray, you probably wouldn't even take notice of it, but now on the 4K that pops. And when they're walking into the restaurant and you see the Jackrabbit Slim logo start to come into focus, again, that just really pops off the screen. And then every single scene when they're in Jackrabbit Slims just pops. It's gorgeous. The Dolby Vision really just does some amazing work in this. The blacks are so deep. There's a scene where Bruce Willis has to go to his apartment to get his watch that he left on the kangaroo while his girlfriend forgot it. And he's got his head against the wall. I mean, the deep black of because it's like a very shadowy scene is perfect. Usually on the Blu-ray, that's kind of gray, but it's just so deep and dark here. The red Impala that John Travolta is driving is just amazing. The way it pops off your screen, I really can't sell short how beautiful the visuals are in this movie. They did an amazing job bringing this to 4K, but still keeping that 70s tone that Quentin Tarantino was going for when he's making the film. It doesn't feel like a modern film. It still feels just like Pulp Fiction, just like Tarantino designed this film to look, and it really came out gorgeous. What an amazing upgrade as far as visuals go. And I was, like I said, I was really scared about this, especially, you know what, this is Paramount. I'm gonna go on a little rant about Paramount, but Paramount this year, very hit or miss. They might have given us the best 4K of the year in Top Gun Maverick, but then they also, I think, gave us the worst 4K of the year in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. And then this is another great 4K. And then I also reviewed 48 Hours, which was just an average 4K. So I don't know if Paramount has a bunch of teams working on different 4Ks at a time, and then when they go to quality control, they kind of just pass it through no matter what. But some teams are better than other teams. I don't know. I'm just speculating, but it just seems so strange that some of their 4Ks can come out looking like the best 4Ks, and some 4Ks look like they didn't even try and make it look good. So I can't figure Paramount out, but they knocked it out of the park with the visuals on this one. Now, as far as audio goes, it's a DTS HD 5.1. It's the same DTS 5.1 that we've had. And that's not a problem. It's still a really good audio track. There's a lot of music in this movie. A lot of music that was introduced to me was from this movie. And it still sounds really good, but I would have loved a Dolby Atmos track. It would have just been cool if they went in and did some new audio work on this, because I do feel like a film like this with all the violence and all the music really could have used a good Dolby Atmos track. Now, as long as the dialogue is clear, because that's the driving force of this film, and as long as the mix is really good and I don't have to turn the volume up and down, I don't have too many complaints, and this DTS HD 5.1 did just that. So it's still a very good DTS track. I just would have liked a new track. And that's the same thing on the extras. I've seen all these extras that are on the discs before, and there are extras on the 4K disc and on the Blu-ray disc, but they're all really interesting extras. They're not half-assed extras or anything like that. It's just that there's no new extras. And it would have been really cool for them to actually do some new extras for this release, because there are so many fans like myself of Pulp Fiction, and many people who consider this to be Tarantino's masterpiece. This would have been the kind of film that deserves more new extras, more new interviews with Tarantino and everybody looking back on this film. But we didn't get that. This is the kind of film where I feel like would fit perfectly into the Criterion Collection, where you get some essays and critics all looking back on the film now. Like on this, you can watch Siskel and Ebert look back on Tarantino's films from their show, but it's like, it would have been cool to get some modern look backs on Tarantino's films, especially on Pulp Fiction. It would have just been cool to get that on here. And I think if Criterion had tackled this, or even maybe Arrow Video, I think we would have got a lot more extras. But that's just a minor complaint. The extras that are on here, even if they are old, they're all great, but it just would have been cool if we would have got more. So overall, that visual upgrade is probably enough for me to be very satisfied with this, because I was very worried about this transfer, and this is the new definitive edition of Pulp Fiction for sure. My only complaints are we didn't get a new audio track and we didn't get any new extras, but the packaging is great. That visual upgrade is enough for me to give this a pretty solid 8 out of 10. Definitely grab this. It's worth it at the full price that they're selling it for. And if you do want to grab this from Amazon, we do have an Amazon affiliate link in the description below. All you have to do is click that link. It really helps the channel out, and it costs no extra money for you guys. And another thing that really does help the channel out is by you guys liking this video, subscribing to the channel, and then going out and telling all your friends.